particle that can then be manipulated by the NEXRAD towers. Now, it's a push and pull type thing. So you're not really controlling the hurricane itself. You're controlling the atmosphere around it to steer it, if that makes sense. So you're not taking all this energy that you need to move an actual hurricane, this physical thing. You're controlling the different atmospheric pressures around it. You're creating a pressure in one direction that will alter it. If it's moving in one direction and you have something in its way, it's going to go around it. So you can create a pressure, which is a lot easier to do than actually control a hurricane.
Kind of like a warp bubble idea.
Exactly. And if you look at the maps, I have this on my channel. I should have brought it up on the videos, but there was a high pressure that came down from Canada that sat right in the middle of the country as Helene was coming up into Florida. And it just sat there. It stalled out completely. And the term's called the Fujiwara effect, when two low pressure systems wrap around each other and they do this weird dance. And it happened over land. That doesn't usually happen. That's what swung Helen into Asheville in those areas and just sat there. Sorry about that. Just sat there. So there's a pressure there already for that thing to mimic around. Mm-hmm. And that's what the theory is. That's what Dane was saying, is that he believes they can create the necessary fields around a hurricane to steer it. As opposed to
you're saying they're not trying to control the hurricane. What they're doing is controlling what might be the path of it.
That's because hurricanes.
They're throwing
it's like a warp bubble.
A chunk of wood in the middle of the road so the car turns left.
If you look at a basic hurricane like that's coming from Africa, they're running along that warm water belt on the equator. The reason they're not shooting up north is because of the Bermuda high bubble. It's keeping them pinned down. As soon as that high bubble moves, the storms want to shoot north based on inertia, whatever they call it. So all you have to do is create these little pressures, and the hurricane's going to work around those pressures. They don't always get it right, I don't think. I don't think they can just be like, all right, it's going to go here, here, or here. But again, I keep going back to this point where they started messing with these things 80 years ago. They didn't stop. There's no way they stopped doing it. So they probably found an easier way. You can control the atmosphere around these storms.
I personally believe it's possible. I don't think that human organization, especially this administration or the Western powers, are organized enough to succeed in things like this.
I think it's multiple groups. I don't think it's one group that has control. I think it's more than that.
I look at the state of disorganization right now, and I don't think that they're going to be tracking this kind of stuff to this degree. And I don't know.
I think the disorganization could be part of the distraction. The way we look at like the assassination attempts and how much chaos there is involved and how much incompetence.
So what is the purpose of sending a hurricane into these areas? What was it before?
Well, there could be multiple purposes. Like, I don't think the storm was made to just flood out Asheville for lithium deposits. I mean, that's a huge theory going on right now, is the fact that,
there's a big BlackRock contract for lithium.
It's massive. It's insane. And if you look at some of the contracts they were trying to get a hold of, and these people are fighting back from these areas, they didn't want any of this mining going on in their towns. They were all anti-mining, and now they might not have a choice. It might be declared a disaster zone. And if that's the case, they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to be like, well, can't live here, so we may as well use it. We can mine the lithium, whatever it is.
The only problem I have with this idea is say it is possible that they're doing this. What about all of the other storms that have already, before there were millions of people, they already did the same thing? There was no one with any benefit or technology doing anything, and it still happened.
I also want to say too, for lithium mining, Afghanistan is substantially better for all of this stuff. And why don't they just flatten Afghanistan with any kind of weather modification or unseen?
That's a good question. Like, why didn't they do that?
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure BlackRock and all these,
I think the answer is they probably didn't.
Would be more than happy to show up at a devastated area and make profit. I mean, there's no question about that. But whether they had anything to do with doing it is just...
No, I mean, my point is there are other areas of the planet with less resistance.
Right.
You're not going to go to an American area of dense population,
in Appalachia.
You're basically trying to go up against Americans who are some of the wealthiest people on the planet. And I know that Appalachians are not. I'm just saying that relative to Afghani, the Taliban or whatever,
they're well armed.
Well, it's just in a legal context, it's much more difficult.
Right? Why wouldn't they just go to like Peru or some of these other poor countries that have a lot of rare earth elements and just
Why not send the hurricane south into central and the Yucatan and just wipe out these areas? And then, But not to say that they've got lithium. I mean, lithium's important. Maybe they don't. It could be. You can make the argument that because of the Afghan withdrawal and the advancement of China and control of the Taliban, it's now not accessible to the U.S. and Western powers.
And you guys were talking about the tsunami bomb, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't these same programs be going on over into our enemies' areas? I know that there's.
I agree. We'd be seeing way more massive storms destroying Russian towns and China. You know, I don't.
Well, you gotta understand
unless it's China that's doing it against us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, think about that too. I mean, the counter argument to that is the fact that if you don't see that happening in China, it's because maybe they can stop it. You know what I mean? Like these. Well, you got to think of it that way.
And I hear you. I just kind of feel like now you're getting to the point where you're adding too many layers, and it's overcomplicating what may just be
I get it,
hurricane.
Right? And I want to keep it more simple because like you can easily get trailed off in this topic and lose where you're going. So. There's a clip I wanted to bring up with Dane. I sent it to you real quick. I sent it to Lisa. I don't know if she has it pulled up or if it's available.
Yeah, I can search for it if you just tell me what it is.
Yeah, and also going off the radar on that too. What if it's incrementalism where now they're going to try some of these Agenda 2030 goals with rewilding programs where persons that were so destroyed in the storm will no longer be allowed back in there and they'll declare it an eco zone, and that's the first foothold in to see if people will accept it. Because you and I have been talking forever about the rewilding programs with Pleistocene animals over in Europe. So why would they not try the same thing here? Oh, it's a storm. Oh, the cover story is the lithium mining. The cover story is the quartz reserve. So what if the real purpose is Agenda 2030 goals to rope that area off and it becomes a rewilded project, no humans are allowed in? We've seen these maps before of no human habitation zones. Perhaps this is the first foothold to let us go in there, but all these other layers on top would be the distraction for the real objective.
Yeah. That is
just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
That is
on
a really
X,
weird
Tim, I
thing
just
that they're
tagged you in
doing
it.
with the why would you want to rewild Ice Age animals? Of all, I mean, you could pick other animals from the Holocene that have gone extinct, or even put animals in different places like they have in New Mexico. We have the African oryx that they put there, and now they're all over New Mexico and Texas. They're a big game animal, so they're taking the niche of what used to be the bison, right?
Into thin air.
Quick tangent. We're talking about modification animals. Did you hear about the guy who went to jail for
number 2
creating the giant hybrid?
PHINAIR.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And the government took the giant hybrid sheep, and now it's in a facility.
And he showed how easy it was to actually do that. Right?
And he's like 80 something. Right, I talked to him. I was trying to get him on my show. Yeah, he's like, my lawyer won't let me do your show.
On the right?
Yeah.
If you can do
You would be an interesting one to talk to. Like, what did he develop in terms of milk production or meat production?
It's not that long either. It's only
We're gonna play this clip.
Yeah.
This is weather.
If you can do so, could you tell us about some of your recent discussions, conversations, briefings that you've had with political leaders from the states in question that have asked you what you think? First of all, what did they specifically ask you, if you can tell us, and how did they respond to your answers?
Yes, Colonel McGregor, I had an hour conference call yesterday with the representatives and senators from the Carolinas, and we presented the data to them to answer their questions about how this manipulation occurs. They realized this was not a natural event. They're trying to digest the fact that their states were literally under assault from weather modification operations that are clearly connected with DoD operations. And we can speculate again on the agendas and objectives being carried out, but the fact that the storm was manipulated is absolutely inarguable. We know that technology to stop these rotations from even occurring has existed for decades with the manipulation of atmospheric pressure zones. HAARP in Alaska is one example many people are familiar with. That's an ionosphere heater. That's a weapon of mass destruction, period.
So there was nothing of substance in that.
No.
It's just a guy saying, I think, without evidence.
Right. Well, if
not only
you
that,
know the
calling
guy, he has an entire website and a background in this stuff. So that clip, will basically
conversation.
Just start playing again for some reason.
Yeah, that'll tune to people who know who he is. That's a short clip. That interview is actually 17 minutes long. He goes into a lot of detail.
If he's that educated in that part of it, why did he just say that it wasn't a natural event? Because if it's manipulated,
right,
then it was a natural event. That's why why would he even say that?
I think what he's saying is that it wasn't.
Created it.
Well,
from scratch.
So here's a question.
if you listen to the whole interview, I don't think he says that.
How does HAARP from Alaska? Honest question. How does HAARP from Alaska superheat the ionosphere or change atmospheric conditions in, say, the Gulf?
It would be a process. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is that it's not just HAARP in Alaska. And like I said, that video is very